Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Like I'm looking at your terminal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, oh no. Oh no. VS Code is broken. Unpacked to VS Code server bin mount C VS Code. That sucks. How am I gonna do anything if this doesn't work? I rebooted and then it downloaded a new version of VS Code, I guess. Downloading, unpacking. And what I'm confused about is I'm using Windows subsystem for Linux. Try this. Studio Code. Okay, it works from there. Okay, looks like we're back in business. So what I've been working on is a GUI menu that will allow us to be able to pull some items around. So let me recap on a couple of things. So we have Svelte, which is a compilation step that will, it's similar to React, except you don't require the React library. And what this space does is, yeah, let's bring in Svelte files. Search Svelte extension Svelte. Where is this? Svelte for VS Code. Yeah. Load the window. All right. So what this window says is we import some other components we want to show on the page, and we're gonna have some if statements for showing these components. So if you haven't joined the space, show a welcome modal, and depending on what you do with the welcome modal, it'll hide and show things. When all these are done, it will set some flags so that this becomes true, show the overlay menu, and that's when we show the overlay component. So if we jump in here and we start our server, let's open up Chrome and go to localhost. We have just one space. I'm going to hit enter. And in order to test the menus, okay, so here's that welcome card. So you notice there's no menu here. I click join, and confirm on the microphone. And now you see this menu. So when we click the menu, then we can show these things. But because I wanted to test how it looked, I made it so I always render the full screen mode. And then I also wanted to see what it would look like in VR. So this is the textured mode. So let me explain a little bit more what that means. So we have a menu manager. So in JavaScript, I made the scene manager is everything about Babylon.js. It creates the scene, and in the scene manager, it will create a menu manager here. And so if we search menu manager, that gets instantiated after the camera is created, because at that point you're ready to render things when you have a camera. So rendering this, creating this thing a little bit later is better. So in this menu manager, we create two textures. So we have texture 1 and texture 2. Texture 1 is a full screen GUI. So when we're in inline mode, when you're in a browser on your desktop, you use full screen mode and it will just put this on top of the scene. So this is the full screen mode texture. And then texture 2 is advanced dynamic texture for a mesh. So I created a plane here. A plane is just a something that's flat. It's got a height and a width. Right now it's square, so telling it half a meter in VR measurements, half a meter by half a meter tall. And then I kind of move it a little bit higher. I give it a bounding box, and then I move it to the right a little bit, and I move it backward 1 meter. So that's where we see this thing here. And then, so this is texture 2 is wrapped onto this plane. And then I parent it to the active camera. So when I move around, if I move backward, this is following us because I parented it to the camera. So wherever the camera moves, this is moving. But where we want it actually is on the left hand, so that when we're in VR, it's not blocking our face all the time. So that's why I created another manager, which is the XR manager, and that's going to tell us when the left hand is ready. But in this menu manager, I created a couple of things. Let's see. Right, so now we have this empty texture. And so ignore this listen thing for a moment. Okay, so we have these destinations. So if you imagine like an HTML page, when you click on a link, it goes to some URL. Now, within this menu system, I thought it would be useful to have that kind of analogy, like an A tag with a target. Then I can have the name of the target be one of these functions. And what I'll do is I'll just swap out the control. So we have this texture, and then I have these classes that I can call. And let's take a look at the main class, for example. So here's a function main, and then it instantiates a menu page. So if I take a look at this, what this does is it returns a declarative structure for what should be on the page. So it doesn't put it in the texture. It just says, this is a description of a type of control. So all this constructor will do is it will return an instance of itself. So I extended the Babylon class called container, which is, I think it's kind of a base class for these widgets that you can build GUIs upon. And I created this syntactical sugar. So I said, I created these functions. They're not really HTML functions, but I named them to kind of remind me what I want. So if I want a rectangle, I made a function called div, and then I could give it children. So I could say main menu is the first child of div, and it's just going to stack them vertically. So I said I want a main menu, then I want a link to a target about, and then the third thing I want is an edit element, which is another function that I wrote, and that has a span. That means span means stack it horizontally, so from left to right. So then I have edit, and then I have a toggle. So I kind of made these helpers that, using the Babylon JS GUI, I kind of created HTML kind of syntax around them, but underneath the hood, they return this Babylon JS GUI container-ish stuff. So if you look out here, that's what this does. It's a div, which is this rectangle, a main menu, which is the first element of this. Over here it says main menu, and then you have this link that says about. And if you were to click this, the A tag is actually having some behavior which captures the click, and then it sends a message. So if you were to peek into the implementation of this thing is creating a kind of a GUI button, and then when it receives, it has a Babylon on pointer observable. So every time you click it, it sends a message to open a menu, sending the target of whatever name you specify. So that means out here in main, I just have to specify a target of about. So clicking on this is going to send a message to Signal Hub saying you wanted the about target. And so in the menu manager, I have this Signal Hub subscription saying every time you say a message with open menu and it has a target, then I try to find a function within me that matches that target name. So if you click about, it's going to return the control specification for what an about page is. If you click on main, it returns the control specification about what the main is, and so forth. Edit, transform, etc. So what that means is I can click about, and it will change this menu. So this, you see a backlink and a hello about me. That's defined in the about. So over here, I just have a specification to say, okay, I want to add a control. I want a GUI rectangle. I've made some syntactic sugar now, so now I don't need this GUI function. I can just say div. I have to import div, the function I made. And I think this will work the same. So the first parameter is any kind of properties that you want. Maybe you wanted to give the div the control some kind of name, so you can name it like something about div or something. And this has a target that goes back to main. So if you click back, it sends a message, and then it will switch it out. So in the main manager, it has this subscription that it will update both textures. So it will first try to find if we have a target here. If we don't, it'll just console log an error. And then what it'll do is it'll delete the root texture. It'll take the root container from the texture and delete it. And then it will create a new one that's called from the target function. So essentially, when you're clicking on things, it's grabbing the new controller and installing it in the texture. But it's not creating new textures. It's just installing those things on it. So that's kind of what drives these GUI menus. So essentially, we just have this about, and we can have some literature about, and it can come back. And then I made this toggle button. Now on this toggle button, I added a little bit more behavior. So we have this, that's on main menu. We have this function I wrote called edit element. And what this does is it returns that span, right? So you've got this edit on the left side and a toggle button on the right side. So edit on the left, toggle button on the right. And this toggle button, I've added some on change behavior. So if the data is 0, then I call a function called off. And if the data is 1, call call the function on. So I created this edit manager, which listens for on off. So if I toggle this on, so now it's on. Oh, okay. I didn't send a message to the other one, so it won't toggle this other one. But now that it's on, I created a gizmo manager, so I can click these things and it will put these widgets on top of it. So now I can move things around. And then what's nice is that when I toggle this off, it cleans up after itself. So now I don't have that. And so this is, I think, a good way to put us into edit mode where we can modify things and add some things. So now I want to see if we can put this on the left hand. So what we want to listen for is when the left hand is ready. Then in the menu manager, instead of binding it to the camera, which we're doing right here, right here, we're saying that the plane's parent is the camera. What we actually want to do here is we want to listen. So we go signal hub, and I made some syntactic sugar for this, so I can say listen for something, some kind of string, and then you can subscribe to it. You could pipe it, do whatever you want. So I want to listen to some kind of message. So I forget what kind of message that is. I'm going to open up the console here, and then I'm going to click on this icon here to output the messages. So here, the event is called controller ready, and the hand is left in the payout. So I'm going to copy this and just paste this comment here. So I want to listen to controller ready. If we take a look at what this does, listen is just some syntactic sugar over a signal hub pipe. So I'm filtering that the message event equals the string that I sent in. That's all it does. So I can say listen for controller ready, but I also want to filter just the left hand side. So here's my pipe, and I want to filter. And I want to filter my message. And what about my message? I want to check that my message dot payload hand is equal to left. And then let's see, what did it import? Did it import? Okay, it automatically import filter from RxJS operators. So let me indent this a little bit. And then I want to subscribe to this message. So when this thing is ready, I want to set the plane parent to something. But what is that something? I need to set it to something, and I don't know what it is here. So I have this XR manager, which is extended reality stuff. So what this does is Babylon.js comes with a default WebXR experience. So given the scene, you can call this create default experience, and it sets up your hand controllers. It does all that kind of stuff. So really, I just typed into the lifecycle of these observers, and as it's initializing, I populated the left input source and the right input source, which I think should represent the left hand and the right hand. So now I just need to get to the XR manager. And let's see, if I'm in the menu manager, what do I have? I'm given the scene manager. And the scene manager has an instance of XR Manager. So I should be able to traverse this to the other side. I should be able to go from Menu Manager. So this Scene Manager dot XR Manager dot left input source dot grip, I think is what we want. So I'm going to set the parent to this grip. And by this time, because we're getting this message, it should be ready. Okay, let's see what happens. So this thing's all the way out here because it's not parented to the left hand anymore. Now when I click on this, it said failed to read the screen X property from mouse event. The provided double value is non-infinite. Simulate pointer remove. Okay. It's possible it doesn't have anything at this point. Let's see. So let's console log what this is. Console log left grip. All right, we got something here, but failed to construct pointer event. Failed to read. Okay. Was it just because of that? No, it's not because of this. So it might be something in the XR manager, maybe. Failed to construct a pointer event. Yeah, not sure. This was working earlier, right? Okay. Alpha. Did that. Okay, I added that we should store that thing in. Let's try a hard reboot. So we're here, we're here. Okay, that seems to be okay now. And I have these controllers, so I can move this here. You can kind of see it slightly there. And let's try to put this back. So we're gonna pipe, filter, subscribe, and let's just do that without actually parenting anything. Refresh. refresh this. Join the space. Okay, that's fine. Let's say this, which one? Plane parent equals this scene manager XR manager left input source grip. Okay, it looks like it worked because if I move the hand, it's kind of tracking with it, although it's a little bit odd. I think I can't tell. Let's try rotating it. Okay, what I think is it has offset, so we don't need this offset anymore. So I think we can remove moving it so high here and here. It should be right at where the grip is. Now it's just on the hand. Okay, I think we can move it up a little bit and a little bit back. So up just slightly and backward slightly as well, 0.2. Okay. And I think we wanted to put this back on a menu, right? So this isn't here all the time. Well, we can do that later. So I think that's pretty good. Let's save here. So git commit. So we parent the mesh GUI menu to left controller. All right. Now we only want the main menu to come out when we're clicking this thing. So we had this working before, so we can, let's see, we can go to our menu manager is just creating it upon instantiation. But really we want the open menu to bring out the menu so we can create another menu that actually builds the texture, or we can just hide it. So after we create texture 1, we can say this texture, some visibility or render. How do you hide a texture? is visible. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll open up the scene debugger and see what options are on. So you can do scene, debug, layer, show, and that'll bring this up here. And so there's a GUI part here, and what does this button do? Whoa. So you have root container, you can close it. Okay, so we can go to the root container. Alright, so the texture is created and then hidden. So after we click this, we can send a message here. And so what is the message here? We can look at the Svelte, because that's a Svelte component there. So we go back to app Svelte. That comes from component menu overlay. Menu overlay has two pieces, which is a menu. So it's calling toggle show main menu. So it will say show the main menu, which toggles the show main menu variable. Is that used anywhere? Show main menu false becomes show main menu true. And here we're just sending a message to open the menu with the target of main. So I think if show main menu is true, we'll send this. Otherwise, maybe we'll send a new event that says close menu with a payload of, doesn't matter. And then over inside the menu manager, we have this listener thing that's listening for any kind of open menu. And since the root container is disposed, I think this will just add a new root container and it might make it visible. So let's just see what happens. We go here, open that. Maybe not. Let's see. So we'll open this. Okay, clicking this. Close menu. Open menu. But if we look at this, this root container still has visibility turned off. So let's just do this. Texture 1 and texture 2. This texture 1 root container is visible. Set that to true. Oh, did we get a message here? Why are we getting this message? Getting open menu. let's check here. Menu overlay. By default, the show main menu is false. Is something else sending a message to ourselves? Let's see. Oh, we sent a message when this is open. Okay, this is stupid. Let's not do this. There we go. Okay, we have this. Click on this, it's open. And I want to be able to click this again to hide it. So we need to receive that message inside menu manager. So we can also listen when it's closed menu. So don't really care what the message is. We just need to say this texture 1 root container is visible is false again. So we can join, open, close that menu. And we need something similar on the left-hand controller, where in VR, we're not going to be able to see this thing. But I sort of think if they click this, we should... Oh.
Is this going to be the case for a lot of things? That you have to code one time in 2D mode and another time in the VR mode?
I hope... sort of. This one, because it is a full screen GUI, but it's still a GUI. I don't think we need two of them. I think I just had them here so that I could preview up close what it was going to look like, because this one is hard to hard to zoom in on.
Yeah, but if you want an experience to work in both, outside of VR and within VR, does that mean you have to code it twice?
This is the same control, so I don't need to code it twice.
Okay, but like I see what you mean. Okay, got it.
Yeah, the reason I had it twice here is because the controls are relative to the screen size. So this one is half a meter by half a meter, but when you make a texture from full screen GUI, then this becomes the proportion. And so when you create controls, if you leave it like width is 100%, then this thing, for example, fills up the whole screen, whereas this, it fills up the texture. So I wanted to have them both there when I was adding the controls to make sure I had the right properties in there. But now that it's kind of set, I actually only need one of them. But some menus, to answer your question, some menus need to be created. I hope not created twice. I will have one menu in HTML and then one menu in these controls GUI where you can do in VR, because you can't have any of the HTML controls in VR. So we can have a single texture, and so we want to be able to bring this up. So maybe we do need to create it, because we have to make a choice of whether we're creating the texture for full screen or UI. So maybe we don't create the texture in the constructor. We'll create it in the open step if it doesn't exist. And then we can choose which mode we're in, right? How do we know what mode we're in? The menu manager doesn't know whether you're in XR or not. The menu manager doesn't know, but the XR manager knows. So let me back this up a second. Let's go to the XR manager. the XR manager can listen for a base experience on state change, and then it can say you're entering XR or you're exiting XR. I was using this for the teleportation manager, but since I don't have a teleportation manager yet, I can repurpose this and just console log it. So we can do Babylon. Babylon web XR state. And why is it complaining here? Babylon can be used as input using input type. What other states do we have? Web XR state. Entering XR, exiting XR, in XR, not in XR. Okay. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Okay, so if you're in XR, I want to know about something. If you're not in XR, then I want to be able to check. So actually, I can just do this. I want to console log XR state. Show the state, which is an enum, where it's a number. So over here, if I clear this, I do this. If I click on this, I should see something. So I go in XR state 0 and then 2. So 0 was entering XR, 2 is in XR. And then if I do exit, then what do we see? We say 1 and 3, exiting XR, not in XR. So what I would like is a property on here to tell me if I'm in XR or not. So public in XR is a Boolean. And then in the constructor, let's say this in XR is false. And then we'll listen here. So switch on the state case Babylon web XR state is in XR, then this dot in XR is true. Break case not in XR, this is false. Right? What's that going to help us with? So if I have this, then in the menu manager, I can cross over and check this. So I'm in the menu manager. Let's move all of the stuff about creating the texture into a function. So I got texture 1, texture 2, all this business. If we cut, and we can say create texture, paste this here, and we can say when we're listening that currently if not this texture or not this texture 2, then go and create this create texture. So it will just create them on the fly anytime you're navigating between a menu. So we don't even have the VR menu now. If I go over here, click, okay, now we get both menus. And yeah, clicking is just hiding it. All right, so now we want to just create one texture, depending on if we're in VR or if we're in 2D mode. So the create texture can check this scene manager, XR manager in VR. So if you're in VR, you want to create a mesh texture. Otherwise, you want to create this create full screen UI. Okay, so the create mesh texture needs a plane. So here's where we go, we create a plane. All right. Maybe if not this plane. Okay, create a plane if we don't have a plane. Then what else? We can also create the full screen UI, which is this guy. And this is the one for this guy. Okay, so we're assigning two different textures depending on which mode we're in. And then on page, okay, so there's a little bit of difference in the way that we're swapping these things out, depending on. So texture one, which is the full screen one, you disposed it, and then, oh, okay. The only difference is that the one in VR, it fills the entire half meter by half meter texture, but in full screen mode, I didn't want it to fill across here. So I put it within another container that then I restricted the width so it could be smaller in this left-hand corner. So, okay, I seem to have broken something. So this doesn't do anything now. Let's see, cannot read properties of undefined reading root container. Ah, yes, we need to create our texture, right? Which line is it erroring on? Ah, close the menu. So root container, texture one, listen, close menu. This create screen full UI is not a function. Oh, need to save it. What is this thing? So why are we getting, oh, okay, texture 2. Yeah, there is no texture 2 to dispose. Okay. So obviously I need to clean this up a little more later. So if texture 1, depending on which path you went. Okay, so here in non-VR mode, I can go, give me a menu, close that. In VR mode, okay, I have no way to say I want a menu now, because I need a menu in VR to press that thing. So how should we, if you're in VR, how do we want to pull up it? Should we always have a little menu in VR, and then we like use our button to click on it and then we see it expand? Or should we like, I think so, right?
Yeah, I think a little button on your wrist shouldn't impact anything unless gameplay would need you to click. Like giving everyone a watch isn't a bad idea, right? Like
yeah. Okay, so that's where we're at. So I can do that in the next video. The other thing that I wanted to do is add some teleportation, because right now if I were to deploy this, we can't move around because you need to tell the XR manager where your floors are. So that's what this thing was. I had a teleportation manager before, which would manage listening to things that you create and put the floors. Oh yeah, the other thing we need is we need to put back the menu of, let's exit WebXR. The other thing I need to put back is a menu for primitives. So we can edit, which means we can, why is it, oh, there needs to be like a button blocker or something. Oh, I've lost control over it. Not sure why that doesn't react. Okay, I need to retrace my steps to see why this isn't getting a focus. Oh, what? Oh, is it misaligned somehow? Oh, is it because of this? Oh, I probably need to do some resize. Oh, that still works. Okay, maybe it was a fluke. No, that doesn't work. Oh, interesting.
it did work though, right? Like hit on 34 times. Oh.
Yeah. Why is it capturing it that many times? Unless is it increasing?
Maybe a loop. Yeah, a loop somewhere. It resets back to 0, I'd be my guess, and then goes up to 34 every time. Interesting. Like 34. Such a random number.
I may not have cleaned up some observer or something. So we go on,
Oh,
off,
there you go.
on, off, about, back, on. Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
there you go. Yeah.
every
When
time
you
I
come
open
back.
it and close it. So if I do this, it's going to do it like 3 times.
4, 3,
2, or maybe switching between these things. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Every time. Okay.
I think it's because yeah, where is
To
it?
counter somewhere
Yeah, it's
or
the
something.
toggle. Um, menu main. So I created this menu manager, and this is created every single time. So edit manager is gonna have this edit toggle on value changed. So we're changing this on value changed add. So we need to clean this up so that when this main is torn down, we remove these we remove this function, I think. So this is a GUI container. So maybe it's something like on value change. I thought it would get torn down. Oh, maybe it's not disposed. No, it should be disposed. It should be disposed. Edit toggle. Well, do you guys need to go?
Yeah. Like Helene's not home to go watch the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions? Comments? All right. See you guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.